country, many clubs, but one in particular called Rosedale Golf Course, that up to 1997 would not let Jewish people in their club. It's unbelievable. 1997 would not let people that quote unquote were not like them in their club. I would never be allowed in that club. None of you will see the inside of that club. It's a special group. They all stick together like this. And there's numerous clubs like that. And when I found out in 1997, you gotta be kidding me. It's that exclusive. You know, you gotta have the six-figure money to even get in there. And there's a 10-year waiting list to be part of this exclusive club. He started in 1969. His father is there. I've always said there's a difference between being entitled and being successful. Entitled, being successful. Let me tell you what the difference in my opinion is. Being successful is working at other places, as my dad taught us. I worked on St. Clair Avenue, slugging beef, going to high school on the weekends and during the week to make $12 an hour. That was a lot of money back then, by the way, $12 an hour. My dad told us, if you think you're starting in the office, you got another thing coming. You're cleaning the floors, you're emptying the garbage, you're gonna learn how to run the press. And anyone that knew my father, he was hard-nosed. We'd come home after 16 hours and you look at us asking us why we're coming home early. So let's look at the other side now. You're in private clubs since you've been 1969, exclusive group, and you go out, you get appointed, anointed, or parachuted. What 23-year-old that I know of automatically becomes the Premier's chief of staff? In my opinion, because your name's Tory. It's unheard of. Bill Davis's chief of staff was John Tory, 23. You know, you're shaking your head. And then the next job you go to, you get the commissioner of the CFL. Yes, he volunteered, but you know, you got to look at someone's resume. Then you get appointed, anointed, or parachuted into the Rogers CEO. I know the people, so a lot of people that sat when the executives in Rogers, and all of a sudden your godfather, Ted Rogers, which was his godfather to John Tory, puts him in there. Do you know how ticked off a lot of those executives were? All of a sudden this guy comes parachuting in. They're thinking that you don't have the respect for someone. And then every person, if not in the world, in the city, knows D.Ford's resume. They know when I started, when I went to school, where I went, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. Conveniently, Mr. Tory leaves 8 years of his resume off. Imagine if you applied for a job and your boss found out later that you weren't transparent and you didn't put 8 years of your resume on. Sure enough, the media gives them a ride because there's only 4 families that control the media for the most part, right? 4 families control all the media in the country. And he knows each one of them. Matter of fact, he's intimately involved in each one of them, knows them. So we start looking into it. All of a sudden, bingo, something comes up called Charter Communications. Mr. Tory sat on Charter Communications, one of the largest bankruptcies in North American history, that he conveniently left off his resume. It was over a $20 billion bankruptcy. He sat on over 20 billion. Over 20 billion. Give you an idea, roughly it's 4 or 5 times the size of Rogers. You know how big Rogers is. Charter Communications was 4 to 5 times larger.
What did they own?
They own all the cable, underground cable networks. It was Paul Allen that started the company, Microsoft there. So we look into it, and all of a sudden, bang, it hits us. We're thinking, you got to be kidding. He's hiding this from the people, obviously, if he doesn't put it up there. So we look at it, and we thought, the media knows about it, but they aren't saying anything. They're keeping it quiet. I'm thinking, really? So we brought it out. But do you know what the most disturbing thing is? Is he wasn't being transparent. Everyone knows my background, and then all of a sudden we look more into it, and we got all the filings and everything. It was shocking. He sat there, well, he was leader of the PC party. he ended up still sitting on the board when he publicly came out and said he was going to get off the board, but he still sat on the board. And then up to a month or weeks before, he knew this company was going bankrupt. People were losing their homes. People were losing their life savings. Just imagine everyone around this table. You have RSPs. Just imagine all of a sudden, bang, one day you come out and everything you work for is gone. And then if anyone that worked there, they lost their jobs. And the things were collapsing. Well, guess what Mr. Tory did? Mr. Tory was, as they were losing their money, he was taking thousands of dollars weeks before the company declared bankruptcy. And guess what? He got up, he walked out of the door, never came back. That shows the character of a man or a woman. If you want to start taking thousands of dollars off people, knowing your company's going bankrupt, and you get up and walk away, and the mainstream media refuse to report this. Just imagine if D.Ford ever did that. Do you know what they'd do? They'd have the rope around my neck. I'd be hanging at City Hall right now. They would. You know it. Everyone in this room knows it. They wouldn't let us get a centimeter. But there's double standards. You have to question someone's ability to run a city. If he can't run, he destroyed a 20 billion, part of it. He didn't do it single-handedly. I want to go on record. But do you know what was interesting? He sat on the board, but he sat on the audit committee. There's only 3 people that sat on the audit committee from the board. You're on the audit committee and you don't see what's going on? And then he tries to come out in the debate and says, I tried to fix the company? You didn't fix the company. You were part of it for 8 years consecutively, and as soon as everything started to go downhill, to add insult to injury, you were taking thousands of dollars in the weeks ending, putting in expenses, and bang out the door. While little Miss Jones were losing their house, losing their pensions, losing their jobs. You got to really sit back and think, look at this person. Every single thing, almost everything, because I don't know everything about him. Let me rephrase that. Almost everything. There's a reason why he lost 4 times.
What years were they?
I believe it was 91 to 98, I believe. It was 91 to 98, 92 to, I apologize, 2001 to 2009. 2001 to 2009. So you sit back and you look at, why did Mr. Tory lose 4 times? Not a coincidence. You know, it's not a coincidence that he's lost 4 times. It's not a coincidence that he brought the federal government from 211 seats of Conservative Party down to 2. You know why he did it? Kim Campbell collapsed when he went after, and he always says, oh, D.Ford's a bully. No, no, no. There's no such thing, in my opinion, as a bully in politics. There's no one's been bullied more than our family. So bullying is for a lot of kids and some adults, but no, in politics, everyone debates pretty heavily. But when you go up and you attack someone's facial mannerisms, Jean Chrétien, everyone knows the Prime Minister. It wasn't his fault. He had a disability. He went out, and do you remember those ads that he ran going after his facial expressions, mannerisms? Instantly, the Conservative Party just went right downhill. Instantly. He destroyed the provincial Conservative Party, the PC party. He got involved in the CFL and thought it was a great idea to go down to the American with Canadian football. Almost brought that to its knees. Like everything that I've seen this person get involved in, do you know what it is? He's a smooth, slick-talking politician. And some people sit back and think, oh my goodness, isn't he great? And he talks so smooth. As soon as I hear a smooth, slick-talking politician, I start going like this, because you know something's going on. It's like George Smitherman, smooth, just shoo. And then when you get all the political insiders, they all stand behind him and, oh, yeah. These are politicians supporting the politician. That scares me too. You need an outsider to come in and stand up for the people. I'm the guy who's going to have the backbone to stand up and defend the people.
two more questions, one, and we will take pictures with Mr. Ford, please, fast.
I knew your father, and she has mentioned to you about Robert Farrell and the Polish connection, Renata, that my friends were introducing this. So there is a lot of, yeah, for families close to the Polish community, but
Yes.
also all over. But the media was, the Canadian media was done to you, to your family. It's, I think, a little bit over the board there. And it is, we saw it in a way, but I admire it are so strong because, you know, being constantly attacked, you know, for the no substantial reasons, you know, like that. But what is Toronto is not like a village, it's not a city. So I am looking for any mayor who is going to transform this the city, the village into the city.
Mhm.
And I would like to see, when you say the TTC passes for the city councillors, let them travel in the traffic. And my plan is to do the one way on King Street towards east of the city, and Queen Street west, one way. One streetcar line, two lanes for the cars, and one for the parking. I took the TTC 35 minutes from Roncesvalles to City Hall. On my bicycle, I can make it 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Another thing is the people, there is no urban planning in Toronto. Like our idea is now, one on an hour, and there is no sunlight.
Yeah.
So this costs a lot of money
Mhm.
and energy to cool down or to warm up, and congestion. And this is like, it's a matter of the few years, it will be a revolution. So I would like to, are you going to prepare some kind of forum of the people, let's sit down, talk about the city, how to make this,
Yes,
the leftist
yes.
propaganda is, we have the fun,
Yeah.
but we have to do this as a business.
That's right. As everyone knows, it's the most multicultural city in the world. I call it the United Nations, Toronto. And for the most part, there's disagreements, but 99% of everyone gets along. And I explain it to my friends in the US and other people from around the world that we could have someone from the Jewish community live here, Muslim community here, and for the most part, everyone gets along and shares the ideas. Because as you were saying, Toronto is made up of communities, hundreds of little pockets of communities, and what is good for maybe downtown may not be good for Scarborough, may not be good for Etobicoke. But I think we sit down as a group, and I'd love to have everyone around the table, I'm fortunate enough to get elected mayor, to come up with ideas. The best ideas I get are from the people. And I would not rule out what you just told me about King and Queen. I like that idea. I would love to look at that idea because the traffic can flow a lot quicker on one-way streets. It's a lot easier. You have more safety, you have more capacity going one way. I'd like to speak to the business owners and ask them what they thought of going one way, the other way going on Queen Street. It works in New York, right? It does. And I believe, yeah, I love the idea, and that goes for my business too, that if I go see a great idea, I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I believe in taking the best ideas from everywhere in the world and bringing them into Toronto. And if we have to do a pilot project to see how it works, I'm all for it. But the best ideas come from the people. It's no different than the frontline workers, even at our company. The best ideas are the people that do the job day in and day out, day in and day out. The guys who sit in the Silver Tower and the big executive chairs, and they never get down on the ground floor, they don't know what's going on. You got to be hands-on. You got to be there. And that's how you understand. Like, I got to go back to Rob, Toronto Community Housing. John Tory's never probably been in Toronto Community Housing in his life. It's not him. He just doesn't connect. He's the 1%er. You go in there, you find out firsthand. You walk into someone's apartment, all of a sudden there's holes in the wall, there's cockroaches, there's bed bugs. Until you go in there and see, you have no idea. And so that's what I believe. Gentlemen came up to me and he said, you know, I know someone that knew your father for years, Joe Perro.
Yeah.
You know, and he never told me this outside of when we just walked in here, at least I can remember. If you know the person that knew my dad, you know what type of man he was. Hard-nosed, work, grew up in the Depression, had nothing. His father died, youngest of 9 kids. His father died, had to live on top of the variety stores on Jones Avenue. So he came from the school, I always ask him, what school did you graduate? He'd always say, I graduated from the school of hard knocks. You know, you learn by doing and you work hard. So no one put anything, a silver spoon in my mouth, that's for sure. Next question.
Mr. Ford, I'm David Dales from Focus News.
Yes.
So the election process has taken what seems to be almost a year now. I was wondering if you were going to make any attempts to change that?
I would change it. I would change it. You know, 109 debates. And yes, I was part of the other 109 with Rob. Obviously, I just jumped in now. But 109? It's ridiculous. I say we have maybe 6 or 7. Provincially and federally, you have 3 debates. Get the major networks, get the ethnic media together, have a debate there, have one with CTV, CBC, City Global, have one with the 3 major newspapers, and that's it. I don't have a chance to go out and meet the people. And thank goodness for the last 4 years I've been meeting the people, but man, I want to get out there and meet the people and ask them what they need and what they want. But every single night from here to the end of the election, we have debates. Sometimes we have 2 debates a day. Like today we had a debate. They have another one tonight, but I'm not going down to the circus down there. I'm going to go to Jane and Finch and meet the people. Anyways.
So, any other question?
I have just one small detail.
Very fast.
Very fast. I got some response from the other candidates, and I want to hear from you, Mr. Ford. Are you going to support the Canada workers to keep moving on forward?
You mean on the immigration side?
Canada Post, because they
Oh, no, I'd support Canada Post. I don't want these guys to have the mailboxes. I want door-to-door delivery. I want door-to-door delivery. I don't want to be going down the street and going into some mailbox. You know, I just don't want it. That's customer service. You know, I totally, in the rural areas, yes. Like if you're up, I have a cottage, you're up north, absolutely. You drive, you know, 5 miles into some farmer's field, no, have the group mailbox. But in densely populated areas, no. You want to be able to go outside, pick up your mail, and bang, go inside there. Support it 100%. That's the other thing. I want to piggyback onto that comment.
Yeah.
You see all these politicians endorsing, and all these lobbyists, and all the consultants, and all the buddies endorsing. Do you know what that means? I know what that means. That means you ever become elected, they're standing in line with their hands out like this. Okay, I support you. Now Rob and I don't owe anyone anything. No one can buy Rob Ford or Doug Ford. No one. No political party can influence us. Not the Conservatives, not the Liberals, not the NDP. The only people that can influence us are the people. That's it, and everyone knows it. Even the Prime Minister, we were up at his cottage. And he says, do you know what I love about you and Rob? Yeah, you guys are tough and you guys get in fights. He goes, but no one can influence you guys. And I said, no one can buy us. Simple. Everyone knows it. Everyone.
And nobody can buy Mr. Saras.
Mr.
Nobody can buy Mr. Saras.
I'm working like his father. I'm
That's
working
right.
more than him.
Yeah.
I knew your father,
Yeah.
and I can assure you that I'm worse than him. Now,
Focus News, how do you like to see China be a partner in
I think China's a major partner. The Chinese community is a major partner in the city. As everyone knows around this table, the Chinese people built the railroad across this country. They've been part of this country for years. And guess what? Speaking of my dad, as you can tell, I loved my dad. He passed away. He got Rob and I on a plane and said, guess what? I'm going to teach you how other people work, other work ethics. I'm bringing you over to Asia. And this was 30 years ago, before China was booming. And he said, we're going to China, we're going to Korea, we're going to Japan, we're going to Taiwan. You're hopping on the plane, we're going to meet people, we're going to go there, see their culture, see how their business works. And I'll never forget him telling us, keep an eye on how productive Asia as a whole, especially China, are going to be over the next 30 years. He knew something that I guess some people knew, but I didn't know at the time. What a economic power, not just China, but all of Asia will be. And you have to build up partnerships with every single country and, you know, and also work with them on technology. I think when you put up big, huge borders and say you can't deal with anyone, I want to close the borders, no free trade, that's the worst thing you could ever do. You want to open our borders up. We can't survive with 35 million people. Our market is too small. Our country would collapse economically if we don't trade with other partners around the world. So I want to have a strong relationship, as I did with the Consul General. We get along great, Chinese Consul General. Sat down, met him numerous times, went out for lunch, met with his group, and he actually was one of the people saying, give an opportunity, let's go out for bid. You know, not exclusive, but let China have a shot at doing some tunneling. Let Spain have a shot. Let everyone come in and compete for your subway business.